Start recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Umineko. Second, Umineko Monday. I'm once again here with Mia Fresh. Mia Fresh?
Being here. What? I'm here!
You cut out on my end.
I'm here! I feel like I only don't cut out when I'm actually at my desk, but unfortunately I want to sit on my bed right now, so you have to deal with my laptop audio.
Yes. Well, what's it called? The Mia Fresh is currently working on art fight stuff, so I will link her art fight down in the description down below. You should go check it out. But now we continue back into Umineko.
You're not screen sharing, by the way.
Oh shit! Give me a second. Hold on. Share your screen. I forgot that. Okay. How do I load this again? It was escape, wasn't it?
Hey. Oh my goodness, is the epitaph finally there?
No. This is from the beginning. System load.
Don't go from the beginning.
Yeah. It'll do that every time.
How do I make the screen full screen again?
Okay. 4 of us cousins were enjoying our stories, just shooting the breeze. Anyway, there were both girls and guys here. Plus, we had people over a wide spread of ages. Adult, high school, and elementary school. Even if we just talked about our own lives, the other 3 kept listening attentively. I think I'm finally getting used to all this. Jessica and Maria have really grown more than I could have imagined in the past 6 years. To be honest, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, but talking like this, I guess that on the inside, nothing's really changed since back then. Oh fuck, I gave this girl a valley accent, didn't I?
I agree. You haven't changed one bit after 6 years. Even though your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid on the inside. Ooh, I'm a kid too. I'm a kid too.
I'm a big kid now.
Well, even you aren't gonna be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're gonna transform into a kid. Oh, from a kid into a cute. You got to transform from a kid into a kid. From a kid into a cute young lady, aren't ya? And when that happens, that flat as bread chest. What? This is a child. We've reached Jessica's level, huh? When that happens, you gotta let.
Bestie!
What the ever-loving fuck has happened to Maria's face in this? Why does she look like that?
Uwunyan.
It's a promise. Maria. I'll let you touch him. Promise. No, Maria. Oh, fuck. This guy was American as well. You can't make that kind of promise. That's bad. Bad.
Honestly, I see George is like Silicon Valley American, and then Jessica's like Valley girl. So like they're from similar areas, but like different views, you know?
I promised, so I let him touch them. I keep my promises.
Always keep him, boo-boo. Maria, you really are an earnest girl. Oh, earnest good girl. The guy you marry is gonna be really lucky.
Hey, stop trying to change the subject by making it sound pretty. Maria, that promise never happened. Never. The promise is cancelled?
Oh, hold on. As I thought, without Battle Raccoon, who's now sounds southern, in our little quarter.
Oh my god,
this group of cousins just didn't feel complete. These 6 year. Oh fuck! I'm going into Rudolph's voice.
No.
These 6
not
years
here
have been
yet.
He's not here, and I don't want him to be.
These 6 years have been kind of lonely. That's true. We didn't really goof off like this. Still, we did have some pretty constructive conversations, right? Stuff about preparing for our future, exam taking, finding jobs.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Now that I'm here, we just talk about stupid stuff and mess around. But I'm having more fun this year, isn't it?
That's true. I agree that this year is the most fun yet.
Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone present. George Anarchy stroked Maria's head and he giggled and she giggled like a happy kitten. Yes, George giggled like a happy kitten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knock, knock. Pardon me, your meal is ready. A timid knocking sound and equally timid voice of a young woman came through the door. Jessica answered brightly.
Shannon, come in. You remember Battler, right?
Jessica stood up from the bed and opened the door. Did I give Shannon a voice? No, I didn't.
Why?
Should I give her a voice?
What voice?
I would assume it's British. But then again, I didn't give Kanon a voice either, did I?
No, well, they can be British now.
It's been quite some... I'm going to use posh. Because I royally fucked up whatever the fuck I did to Rudolph.
It's been quite some time since we last met, Battler Summer. It's nice to see you after 6 years. It's me, Shannon.
Trembling a bit as she noticed me, she bowed deeply. Ah! Jessica had me surprised, but look at you, Shannon-chan. You have turned into a total beauty too, haven't you?
You are too kind.
I'm just sounding posh. I'm not even putting on an accent.
She's from Adelaide now. She's not even from Britain. She's from Adelaide.
Still, the food on this island must be really nutritional, huh? What are you eating and how are you training to get boobs that big? Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment. Oh, what the fuck is that?
What is that sprite?
What is that? Guess I'll have to feel a bit.
Like this is if I haven't read the manga and seen all the things he in there. Sir, stop doing that to Shannon.
Just
Checking the original.
I'm gonna check the original in a second. He's not there.
What?
He's not there.
That's why that one's that spoken Riz.
Oh
He's a
god, bro.
Gentleman who doesn't tit out the ladies.
Doesn't go to grab the tits. Oh my gosh. Guess I'll have to feel. Guess I'll have to feel him up a bit and see whether yours or Jessica's are bigger. Okay. With both hands poised and saliva dribbling down my mouth, I closed in. For the sake of justice and my personal honor, I'd like to point out that I don't suffer from some sort of strange disease that makes my lymph nodes inch until I scratch my neck open, which can only be prevented by fondling breasts. What? I understand this is meant to be a reference to Hinamizawa syndrome, but bro.
Yeah.
This is just the battler style method of communication. Fucking pervert. If I slowly close in on her like this, odds are 8 or 9 out of 10 that I get slapped and clobbered, right? So I can use this Battler Summer original technique to spark a gag and like that and break the ice. Oh, well, it also means I really do get to touch them in that 1 in 10 chance though, right? Like that ever happened. Oh! At that point, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon Chan's boobs, but the counter-strike had yet to come. She blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment when she realized what was going on. Hold on. No, let me... when she realized what was going on, but then she just stood there with both hands, politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover her breasts. Okay, it was just a close-up of her sprite in both sense. Hey, I wasn't planning on this, but please hit me right now, or seriously, I'm gonna... Which was why I was glad that Jessica chose that time to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Thank you, Jessica. Ow!
Well, you've got a pretty bad elbow, Brooklyn.
Huh?
You've got a pretty bad elbow, Brooklyn. You should probably
try
that as
that's right. Right. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Why the hell are you thanking me?
Seriously, my bad, Shannon-chan. I almost got overwhelmed by your hypnotic chest. More importantly, anyone who gets that close has got to be a molester. Are you calling yourself out, man? You've got to fight back when people do that. But you are an important guest, Betula-sama. Now look here, a pervert's a pervert, whether he's a guest or not. A girl's chest has got an air defense identification range of about 10 centimeters or so. Once someone trespasses within 2 centimeters, that's already an invasion of airspace, so you better scramble the jets immediately and give him an instant slap. I couldn't do such a thing. Because we're, furniture? Of course, she didn't want her breasts touched, but if a guest so desired, she was prepared to sacrifice herself to suit their wants. A girl like this needs some urgent protection. To think such a devoted girl still exists in this era. Enough to make a man dizzy. But no! No! I'm coming... What was that? No! I'm coming at you with a perverted face again! Knock me down! Look out, pervert on the loose! This gag can't end until you deliver the punchline. I've got a cat who's invaded my space. So slap me, please. Hit me.
Hit me. Choose me. Love me.
I cannot fulfill your request because I'm furniture. But if it were an order, I'd obey you because that is my duty. Then I'll make it an order. The next time Battle-kun tries to touch your breast, counterattack with a slap. Got it? Yes, as you wish. From now on, that is what I will do. Please understand, Betula-sama. Shannon-chan announced this while bowing elegantly to me. Her expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to show her I was fine with that. 6 years ago, you might have been mistaken for a servant's daughter who lent a hand to your parents' work. But now, you're a fully fledged adult servant. How long have you been working here? Well... Sorry, my cat is trying to eat my food. One sec. I'm gonna have to go put her away. Give me a second. Okay, we're back. I have to put my cat in the other room. Well, I've had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years. She's... The kanji for her name can be read as Shannon. Now there's another name that's far typical for a Japanese person. Back in the day, I was a kid myself, so I accepted her name without paying it much attention. Thinking about it now, her name's pretty unusual, even though she's not a member of the Ushirimiya family. Is she gonna be like a secret love child? That's the gist I'm getting with her being named Shannon. Maybe it's like a servant's professional name or something. If so, that might explain why her name's so similar to Kanon-kun, that kid I met earlier in the Rose Garden. She's a long-term servant who served here since she was 6 years old. Her appearance has changed so much that I couldn't match her to the person of my memories, but we both knew each other 6 years ago. That shy part of her has always been there, but she did seem to have developed the allure you'd expect for a girl her age, especially in her breasts. Yes, pervert. That kid we met earlier, Kanon-kun, is her little brother. He's not exactly my little brother. Still, he loves me like a big sister. He didn't cause you any trouble, did he? Aha! He's the same as always. If only he were just a little bit more sociable. I apologize if he's caused you any trouble. Nah, he didn't cause any trouble for us at all. As a fellow man, I understand how moody you can get at that age. It's no surprise he's unsociable. Ooh, I get called that all the time too. I get called unsociable, just like Kanon. Ooh? You aren't unsociable at all, Maria-sama. Ooh? Wanted to be like him, ooh. You said the meal was ready, right? Ah, yes. I'm sorry. Your meal has been fully prepared, so please allow me to guide you all the way to the mansion. Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. It's so confusing trying to remember all of the accents. We realized that if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, it would actually make it harder for her to do her job. We got up off our butts to avoid interfering with her work any further. Shall we go to the shall we go to the mansion? Everyone's probably hungry, right? Yeah, I'm ready to look forward to. Yeah. I'm really looking oh my god, I can't read. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to go to Sam's food. That guy is apparently a chef at this famous hotel, so he's super good at cooking. Ooh, I can't wait. Let's go, Maria. We're gonna stuff ourselves like pigs. Ooh, stuff ourselves like pigs. No, you can't take everything Balor-kun says seriously, okay? Because he's always just joking around. Okay, let's go. Under Shannon-chan's guidance, we headed towards the mansion. Rose. Zothgartens. If the next person I see is that motherfucker Ronald McDonald, what's his name? Rudolph. Then I will scream. Met once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward as the intimidating mansion of the Shirimiya head family came into view. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you can feel the dignity of almost half a century hanging about. The building was gorgeous on the surface, but as old as it was, the equipment such as its AC and heating were apparently quite frail. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough with the drafts. Haven't these people heard of a kotatsu? I would assume with how much is Western style, I'd say no, they have not heard of a kotatsu.
America boo.
Oh. As we entered the entrance hall, an aged servant greeted us. Now, him, I remembered. Genji-san, who had been working here longer than anyone, filled the role of head servant. Butler-sama, it has been quite some time since we last met. Our eyes met. He greeted me with a calm, composed voice. His bow wasn't graceful or refined as Goda's, but despite its simplicity, it communicated his feelings very well. Genji-san, it has been a while. You look well. Thank you. I have been quite well. And Butler-sama, you have become quite a splendid young man. You are beginning to resemble a master in his youth. Not that fucker. I look like grandfather? Guess that means grandfather was pretty popular with the ladies when he was young. From here on, I shall take Shannon's place and accompany you. Please come this way. Shannon-chan bowed deeply and watched us leave. After that, we headed towards the dining room under Genji's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in stark contrast to us as young people who had grown beyond recognition over the last 6 years. His appearance was exactly the same in my memories from 6 years ago. It was as though time had stopped since the last time we met. Genji-san was extremely quiet and a diligent person. He was basically grandfather's close aide or caregiver, and you might even call him grandfather's companion for many years. Gay? Like lover?
Oh, what is this man's eye color?
In fact, it seems he was grandfather's side even more often than my late grandmother was. Gay? Gay lover? According to Jessica, grandfather trusted him more than any of his blood relatives, but I wonder how long he served. I've never got the details, but I heard something about him being here since the very beginning, when this mansion was first constructed, which would mean he's dedicated half his life to serving here. It's easy to see why he's so trusted. As we passed through a massive hall that extended up into the second story of the mansion with no separating floor, I spotted something that hadn't existed in my memory of 6 years ago. Oh. Oh. Painting. Interesting.
The drama.
It was an awfully large portrait hanging right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Without thinking, I stopped walking, captivated by it. I just choked on a bit of water. Since I'd stopped so fast, Maria, who was following behind me, ran into my back. Uwe? Sorry. Hey, Jessica? Has that picture always been there? I pointed at the big, prominently displayed portrait in the hall. Everyone else stopped too. Oh, right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again? Well, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was put on display sometime around the year before last. You are correct, sir. In April of the year before last, the master put it on display here, having previously ordered a painter to create it. Grandfather did that? So he paid to have it painted just for him, huh? The portrait suited this western-style mansion, and the woman in the elegant dress gave off a sense of refinement. I couldn't have guessed her age, but her sharp eyes and strong sense of will seemed to made her look youthful. She seemed somehow different from the composed middle-aged woman you'd often seen in famous pictures. If she had a normal black hair, I might have assumed it was a portrait of my long-deceased grandmother in her prime. However, she had beautiful blonde hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, just who is this lady? Maria answered that simple question enthusiastically, as though proud she knew the answer.
Uwe? I know. She's Beatrice.
Beawaha? What? Beatrice. She's a witch. Didn't you ever hear about stories about her long ago? A witch? You mean the witch of this island? I think I already said this, but Rokkenjima is a small island, only 10 kilometers in circumference. However, that's actually pretty massive, considering that only the Ushiramiya family lives here. So only the harbour and the area around the mansion was set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island has remained as untouched as it was when it was uninhabited. The vast and empty forest had absolutely no lights, phones, or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget common sense as a city dweller. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come to save you, no matter how much you cried or screamed. Then, once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness. Since there were no streetlights, and since there were no signs, it'd be easier to get lost and confused, losing your sense of directions inside that dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place, but to the people of bygone eras, before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from civilization as the sea. They were oceans above ground. Fishermen who had gone into the ocean are putting their lives at risk despite their technical knowledge. In the same way, hunters who go out to the forest are in danger despite having specialized knowledge of their own. If children were to go play in such a dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents must have thought so. Maybe grandmother first said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Or perhaps the story has been passed down on this island since ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokkenjima was born. This is the legend of Rokkenjima's witch. That's why, when we talk about a witch on this island, we're referring to the master of that vast and savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed at this mansion as a little kid, during those eerie nights when the wind and rain pounded on the windows, I remember being terrified by a story of the forest witch who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory, and I was sure I recalled hearing a name like that when I was little. I see. Still, I totally forgot about that witch and that legend had such an elegant name like Beatrice. So did grandfather go out of his way to have a portrait made just because we grandchildren didn't believe the story? She's the witch from Grandfather's Delusions. Ever since he had that picture hanged, he's been having a harder and harder time telling the difference between truth and fantasy. To us, she's just a witch that exists in Grandfather's mind. But to him, she's a being that exists on this island. Exists. He says he had that painting made because the rest of us would be incapable of understanding otherwise. The whole thing is creepy as hell. Milady, this portrait is precious to the master. I beg of you, do not say such things in front of him. I know. No. Even if you didn't tell me, I'd never do something like that. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritating gaze before turning away. Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining room. Hello? I'm hungry! Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Ushirimiya family. All of the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokkenjima. I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I'd felt when I learned of the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning. And I remember that Kumasawa-san tried to tell an ominous story about Rokkenjima before Jessica stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about this island, but I do know one thing. It isn't the Ushirimiya family that rules Rokkenjima. It's the witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island. Butler! Ooh, you're too slow! When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining room. I hurriedly chased after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked. I have brought the children. Please pardon the intrusion. The doors were opened and we were invited inside. The dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already sitting in accordance with that ordering. Ah! Ah! No! Don't make me do this again!
He always talks about Brat by Charlie XCX, doesn't he?
You're late. Oh, you're late, brats. Hurry up and take a seat. The old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaffes in that group of people were the spots we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness the more. The seats at the head of the table, called the incipient's chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He'd probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. For the perspective of someone facing the incipit's chair, head on, the seating order went from left to right, with the lower rank seating progressing in rows of 2 further away from it. So, on the left-hand side in the first row, closest to the incipit's chair, is where Uncle Kraus should have sat, since he was the second highest in rank. It looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair on the right side of the first, the eldest daughter of the favor, who was the third highest in rank. On the left-hand side of the second row was the fourth highest in rank. This fucker! There sat my damn dad Rudolph, the third of the siblings. Across from him, on the right side of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the younger sibling. At this point, you might expect their husbands and wives to come next. But nope. Left-hand seat in the third row, rank number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was Georgianiki. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. Then finally, next to me on the left-hand side of the 5th row sat Aunt Natsuhi, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt... Oh, sorry. Yes, I was right. Next to Aunt Natsuhi in the 6th row was the final seat on the left-hand side, sat Kiri. The seat opposite to Kiri was empty, even though silverware had been set there and everything. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. Normally, ranking systems of this give spouses equal positions as their partner, but the Oshiramiya family system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, then children of the direct descendant would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. It's terrible, but this system, my grandfather would be ranked even lower than me. What? Oh, it's terrible, but by this system, my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me, if she was still alive. In their youth, they obey their father. After they get married, their husband. After aging, their children. There's an old saying, women have no home in any realm. Long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring this all out, I'd thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings, and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Aunt Natsuhi, who was married to the eldest son and was the de facto number 2 in managing this family, sat to my right, which meant that she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It was hard to imagine what might have been going inside her heart. That's why I made a small apologetic gesture towards her before sitting down. How nice to... she was French, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was French.
How nice to see you, Batsalagoon. You have grown quite tall, haven't you? Oh, yep. 6 long years of eating well, sampling various cuisines, and deriving sustenance from Mother Earth's bountiful gifts. Hard work, but I pulled through. Growing just like a boy. I see. How tall are you now? I guess about 180 centimeters. But Aunt Natsuhi, That's where we're supposed to say heck. That's where you're supposed to say heck? Sounds like all you did was eat. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out what she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsuhi. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning she's my father's older brother's wife. It is simpler if I just call her Jessica. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. She hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories... Huh?
I'm so sorry, I just want to interrupt quickly. Oh no, I just learned that the person I was going to attack first thing, they just joined a team, and it's the same team I'm on!
Oof.
It's the only person who attacked me last year, but I don't care, I'm going to join. I'm going to attack this person.
Okay.
Sorry.
She hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all of my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things with a scary look on her face. In fact, she hardly ever exchanged words. I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her, though my efforts seemed to have ended in failure. The silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. Not even the appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in this room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. He was the kind of person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about time. Well, that might have been true 6 years ago, but it hasn't always been that way lately. In fact, he's off in his own little world so often that he doesn't even show up at family meals. Still, I figured he'd at least come down today. Then again, I feel a lot more relaxed and happy without him. Jessica! When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck her tongue out and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until our host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw it was almost at 12:20. Ushimiya Kinzo is the aged head of the family of the Ushimiya head family. I'm going to save right here. Ooh. Yeah, there we go. Shannon's actually appeared. I think the only person that hasn't appeared here is Kinzo, and then I'm assuming this is Beatrice. Anyway, save. Okay. This man could be seen in his study. The clock had already passed noon, but he didn't even attempt to arise from his seat. With his spectacles on, he built up a growing pile of books with elaborate bindings, which he then read intently. You couldn't really say that he was having too much fun to stop. Rather, he filled the room with a sense of impatience, or perhaps a sense of impending danger, as though every second wasted was a tragedy. In this sealed room, with dense dust danced through the air, which was thick with the stench of chemicals that exuded a mix of suspicious odors. Those odors were somehow sweet and heavy. If anyone with a normal nose came in here, the first thing they'd do would be to open a window and ventilate this room. The knocking against the study door had been going on for a while. A voice calling "Father" sometimes mingled with the knocks. As Kinzo heaved a deep sigh, he snapped the old book shut in his hands and slammed it on the table. He then yelled at Kraus, who was still knocking on the door. "Silence! Enough with the racket, you fool! Who told you the door would be opened if you but knocked? I'll crucify the imbecile. Do you wish to suffer the same fate?" "Father, This is the day of the family conference, which happens only once a year, is it not? Everyone's gathered down below. Please come out. Kraus called out to his father through the door. Kinzo always shut himself in the study, hating it when nearly anyone, even his family, entered the room. For that reason, Kraus had but no choice but to call from him from the corridor like this. Molest me not? Molest me not. I am gobsmacked, certainly. Just who is this everyone of which you speak? Do you mean the fools trying to drag me out of here? Then kill them all. Tear them apart. Use their bodies for firewood. Feed them into the witch's hearth. Put a pot onto that hearth and boil the wormwood. Force the imbeciles who dare try to lure me out here to drink of the broth of the apocalypse. I will soak in their dregs of liquor. Ah, where is Genji? Call for Genji! Have my demonic absinthe prepared. The whispering of the green fairy reaches me no longer. Ah, where is Genji? Bring him here! On the other side of the door Kraus, Nanjo, and Genji kept waiting for the master of the house, who stubbornly refused to come out. Oh! Who is this? Looks like he's late. Looks like he hates me to the core. My voice doesn't reach him anymore. Kraus shrugged as though he's saying it's no use, and smiled bitterly. From the beginning, he hadn't really expected much from his father to respond to his calls. However, since it's the duty of the eldest son, he had tried as a formality. Kinzo-san, your sons and daughters and grandchildren have come to see you, have they not? Could you just let them see your face, if only for a short while? Shut up! Be silent! You dare admonish me, Nanjo? I never told anyone to get you. I told them to get Genji. Now call for him immediately. Time is short and the apostles are already readying their trumpets. So why can't you foolish sheep understand? Kinzo slammed an old heavy book against the table over and over. The racket clearly expressed his great displeasure. Kinzo put his spectacles down and flew up from his chair. He spread his arms wide open as if to sing to a packed opera house, as if appealing to someone, and yelled, "Why? Why is there always something in my way? Why would I throw it all away? I would offer up everything, and there is only one thing I ask in repayment. Oh, Beatrice, if I could see your smile, but one more time I would plunder the smiles of the earth and offer them all to you. O commanders of the legions of locusts, reap the smiles of the earth." Ah, everything is filthy. Everything is irksome. Why must I suffer this impediment on this most precious of days? Call for Genji! I have no idea what this fucking man is yelling about. He's probably lost his mind by now. Krell-san, isn't it a bit harsh to ask these things of your own father? My father is already dead. There's nothing here but a phantom of what father once was. At any rate, as long as he has no intention of coming out, there's nothing we can do. Kinzo-san. Choking coughs continued to pour from the study. I'm going back downstairs. It would be a waste to let the fruits of God's prize cooking talent get any colder. It's one of the few things our relatives can look forward to when they come to this house. Purple. Kraus spun around. He looked at his watch, mumbling and acting as though he had wasted time doing something he knew would be in vain. Genji-san, father is calling for you. Keep him company. Certainly. Dr. Nanjo, let's go eat. If we stay here any longer, this sweet stench will ruin our sense of taste. Without waiting for Nanjo, Kraus went downstairs. Genji urged Nanjo to go and eat. Nanjo glanced between the study's door and Kraus's back as the latter disappeared down the stairs and then let out a deep sigh. Sorry, Genji-san, but please do allow me to leave this in your hands. Yes, please, leave it to me. Do what you can to avoid giving him alcohol. That's a habit that's far too difficult to break. Is Genji not here yet? Who dares keep Genji from coming? Ah, where's Genji? Call for Genji! Please, allow me to handle the situation from here. Very well. Forgive me. Nanjo bowed slightly and descended the stairs. Genji watched him leave and knocked on the study door. Master? It is Genji. Genji? Why have you kept me waiting so long? You're alone, I trust. Correct. I am alone. Kinzo returned to his seat in the study and pressed an old-fashioned switch on the table. After a small delay, the heavy sound of the door unlocking could be heard. Kinzo was convinced that his family wanted to make a mess of his study, or perhaps someone had once opened the window for some air and ended up scattering things that, to him, were very important research materials, leaving him in a terrible mood. Kinzo had outfitted his room with a formidable lock, preventing anyone from entering without his permission and thereby sealing himself in a jail of his own making. Genji, whom he trusted most, was relatively free to enter the room, but even that didn't always hold. If Kinzo was in a bad mood, even Genji wouldn't be able to enter. Anyone else would be limited to holding a conversation through a door, unable to see Kinzo's face. And most of the time, what they got they could hardly be called a conversation. However, this didn't trouble the rest of the family much. What's my thing? Oh my god. Oh my god. Hold on. I've got my fidgety worm. Ah!
We got the worm!
I've got my worm. I was playing with a thing that I beaded, and one of the beads was cracked, so it was bothering me. So I was just like, I need to find my other little fidgety thing, so I just got my worm.
Oh yeah, did I tell you that I finished the art site drawing I did?
Send me a pic, please.
Of course, bestie.
Send on Instagram.
Thank you for letting me know, because I would send it on Discord and...
Yeah. Rest of the family munch. After all, it wasn't worth the effort to disturb this aging family head who was impossible to please and always stayed shut away, immersed in his research. Taking advantage of his refusal to leave his room, they supported his isolation, putting his care entirely into the hands of his servants. Slay!
It's upside down!
It is, but it's very, very slay.
Thank you. Hopefully Shelby loves it.
Okay. They supported his isolation, putting his care entirely into the hands of his servants. I realized I said that and then went, oh, slay! He gets put into the care of his servants! Oh, dear. Genji, my usual. I'm busy. Yes, sir. Genji headed into the corner of the study. Their suspicious-looking bottles boasting venomous colours were on display. They were actually liquor, but considering the shady atmosphere of this room, one might easily suspect them for being ghastly poison. Inside the study, the mysterious collection of books gathered by Kinzo had grown into a mountain. There were bizarre, ancient, or banned books, all of them either forbidden, cursed, or sealed. But if you tried to call them old books, Kinzo would suddenly fly into a rage and say, "Call them grimoires." There were also many mysteries mysterious objects that presumably held some meaning with regards to black magic, like candles, suspiciously melted and molded into strange shapes. The constellations drawn on certain celestial globe contain quite a few shapes that would draw puzzled looks from anyone familiar with today's night skies. The carelessly strewn about books contained many illustrations, all of them a religious or mysterious nature, including some depicting demonically grotesque subjects or bizarre diagrams of various magic circles. And above all, a sweet poisonous smell filled the room, profoundly assaulting the eyes and nose of those who entered for the first time. Eventually, it must have made a person go numb and lose their grip on reality. Inside that study, Genji prepared Kinzo's usual drink with a well-trained hand. No one would ever think of drinking such an ominous dark green liquid in that complex and ornate glass, unless someone first told them it was alcohol. He poured a little into the glass, then placed a cube of sugar in a strangely shaped spoon and poured water from a pitcher over it. Strangely, when the transparent water was poured, the dark green liquid turned a cloudy white. It was a strange optical illusion, as though the water had caused a chemical reaction and made the drink become an even more unrecognizable liquor. Then Genji added original flavors that Kinzo loved as fine-tuning its taste. As I was reading that, I'm like, okay, I'm just thinking of how can I turn this into an actual drink for cosplay cooking, but the more mysterious it gets, the more I'm like, yeah, this is not happening.
Cosplay cooking where Brooklyn is Kinzo.
Yeah, because I was like,
he's an old
man. Oh, green, mysterious dark green liquid, okay, melon liqueur. Cloudy white liquid, okay, Bailey's. But then you've got like a mysterious original flavors, and I'm like, what the fuck does original flavors mean? There was no recipe. Its success was measured. Oh, also there was a cube of sugar and water, and I'm like, what the fuck? Its success was measured only by Kinzo's mood swings when he drank it, and it had taken Genji many decades to learn how to do it right. Genji placed the glass on a tray and walked over to Kinzo. By this time, Kinzo was gazing out the window. Here, master. Thank you. That was a very, very, like, plain thank you that I just did. Kinzo had regained his composure and was now unrecognizable as the shouting, screaming, yelling man from a few moments ago. Looking at this man from behind, as he tilted his gaze... Okay. As he tilted his glass and gazed down at the scenery beyond the window, he projected a sense of dignity and intelligence. To allow Kinzo to set his glass down at any time, Genji motionlessly waited behind Kinzo to his left as though he were a living sideboard. Then, without averting his eyes from the window, Kinzo held out his glass. There was only a mouthful remaining. It was not a gesture intended to set it upon the tray, but a motion to hand the glass over to Genji. Drink, my friend. Your words are too kind for me. No need for ceremony between us. Drink, my friend. Thank you. Genji respectively received the glass, inclined it a little to taste its contents. After that, he gulped it down. I attempted to imitate your concoction, but no matter how I try, I cannot replicate the taste. The way you make it is pure relish. Thank you very much. It is the fruit of your guidance, master. Kinzo smiled at his loyal subject, who refused to put aside rank even when asked to. However, he was not making fun of him. His smile was relaxed, as though chuckling at a close friend's old unshakable habit. We have grown old together. I stopped counting the years long ago. It is entirely thanks to you, Master, that I have been able to live like this until today. Kinzo gave a faint smile as if to say he didn't need any flattery. Until now, you have served me exceedingly well. Is one of them about to drop dead? My sons call me eccentric. The servants that were once many have all quit in fear of me. Only you serve me, even now. Your words are more than I deserve. My life will not last much longer. My sons are vultures, lazily waiting for my inheritance to fall into their hands. Kraus is a fool who squanders money like water, who throws away 2 gold coins to obtain 1, and then he has the gall to claim that he's earned money. Eva is a slave to money who thinks of me as a mere chicken. When I die, she plans to use my bones to make a broth. And that dunce Rudolph just wants to fool around with women. Rosa bore a baby of a man who came from nowhere and about whom we know nothing. Jessica is incompetent and uneducated. George has none of what it takes to be a man. Battler is a fool who threw away the honor of the Ushiramiya family. And Maria is obscene to the eye. Why is Ushiramiya blood so incompetent? Is there no one worthy to inherit the glory I built? What did you just send me?
Sorry, I'm looking for references on Twitter and then I found that.
Male wife alignment chart. Jesus. Of course I knew this this part of Beatrice's curse. I know it. Ha! You golden witch, trying to take revenge against me in this way? If you want to hate me, then do so. If you want to run away, then run. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. Won't let you go. Won't let you go. Won't let you go. You belong to me. You must always be in my arms for all my life. You must stay in my birdcage for all eternity, whispering only to me, Beatrice. Why won't you smile back at me? Oh. Beatrice! Not the Beatrice. Oh!
Whoa!
I can hear myself echo from your perspective.
Oh, hold on, let me swap to my iPad. I think that might make it better.
Oh my gosh, just waiting for me up. Hello.
Is that better?
Over. Okay. After howling, Kinzo choked once again. Genji set the tray and glass down and rubbed his master's back. Genji's facial expressions did not change. It was always like this. Thank you, my friend. When his seemingly deranged fit subsided, Kinzo regained his composure once again. It was like seeing 2 different people, a wild Kinzo and a composed Kinzo, living together inside one body. And so, I have decided. I cannot bear to spend my dimmed remaining years procrastinating like this. If I have one final coin to bet, then I choose to abandon the whims of the demon roulette. The power of magic is always determined by the risk of the gamble. Like visiting a shrine at the hour of the ox in ancient times, Japanese sorcery to nail a cursed doll to a tree. Magical power is produced specifically because of the risk that it will be seen within the 7 days the curse takes. The greater the risk, the stronger the magical power will be. Many miracles that happened in myth might be called crystallization of shocking magical power, but with low probability of occurrence and astronomical risk. That Moses parted the waters of the seas and with the waters of the sea was not a miracle of God. The risk of that desperate situation, cornered by soldiers on the Red Sea's shores, weighed upon the scales of slaughter and gave birth to that miraculous magical power. If that same thing occurred again on the same scale, the sea would surely fail to part. After all, Moses was magnificently summoned a miracle engraved on but one of the countless innumerable results on that roulette of those with power. This is the force that can triumph over astronomical odds. Indeed, good fortune that can grasp miracles is a magical power of itself. To obtain this mighty power, one must face the risk of despair. Those who possess no magical power may call the desperation rather than a bet. However, people who truly do possess magic power can grasp hold of that miracle and make the enigma become into being. And if that power exists within me, I'll seize that miracle. I'll have a chance of making the wish I devoted my life towards come true. Kinzo looked up to the sky outside the window. He spread his arms as if appealing to someone up in the skies. If only I were capable of grasping that miracle. Oh, Beatrice, Beatrice, show me your lovely smile once more. No matter how much time passes, your face does not vanish. I just want to see your smile, that is all. I'll return everything you granted me. I'll return all the glory I've gained since that day. I don't need fortune, prestige, or gold. I'll return everything you gave me. Hi, Ducky. I just want to see your smile. I beg you, Beatrice. Ooh.
Who the fuck is Beatrice?
Oh, I need to turn Ducky up. I cannot hear him. Hold on.
We're playing Umineko.
Mia's listening
Brooklyn's
to me play Umineko. I actually can't hear Ducky. Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm barely talking anyway.
Bro, I'll be able to hear you in the recording of this, but I cannot hear you now. That's really annoying.
That's funny. I just came to ask Mia.
Yeah?
Hold on. You know that bridge you built into the mountain?
Oh, this is the Minecraft thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, can I like build something at the end of that into the mountain?
Like a tunnel?
I was gonna build like a big old door that leads into like a giant library.
Inside the mountain?
Yeah.
We could do that. I'll have to... Maybe when we're on Minecraft together, we can, like, actually, set out, where everything's going to go. Because I feel like that would be a good idea. Because I don't think there's anything inside the mountain, like, that goes in, like, as in, like, a giant door from where...
Okay. Okay, sorry, I just paused my recording so I could listen to you guys yap. Anyway. Kenzo slumped onto the floor, tearing at it with both hands. Genji had no choice but to wordlessly watch over his master's lamentations.
Alright, you guys.
Lamentations. Pardon? What?
I think he just said he was gonna leave us to it.
Oh, yes, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the family head's health is not as its best. He seemed extremely sad to not be able to share lunch with you all. Now that you have gathered for this event that occurs but once a year, Gora, let the lunch begin. Certainly, I shall begin today's luncheon. I am going to save... System. Motherfucker still has not appeared. Save. Except Dr. Nanjo is father's condition. Is father's condition really that bad? Couldn't he have at least let us see his face? It's more a problem of mood rather than physical condition. And for that, there is no medicine I can prescribe. Oh, fuck off! Hey, are we talking? Oh, fuck me, man. Hey, are we talking about his mood again? You've gotta be kidding me. We took time out of his schedule during his damn busy autumn season just to come and find out how he's doing. And now he's... Huh. Then you should be so happy, Rudolph. You now know how he's doing. Or what? Would you rather take my place and try and persuade our ill-humored father to come join us? Are you kidding? Rudolph shrugged. Apparently, though, Rudolph was willing to be indignant at how self-centered his father was. He wasn't particularly disappointed to be spared face-to-face meeting. It doesn't seem like his mood will improve before dinner, Kraus-Nissan. I have no idea. If you want to know that, you should ask him directly. Although, I think his mood will improve faster if we don't bother him. Genji-san, San's the only one who can get grandfather out of a funk. It's pretty pathetic, though, making the servants deal with your own parents' bad mood. Jessica, don't speak out of turn. I like that her father speaks in a regular accent, her mother speaks in a French accent, and she's a Valley girl. She planned for her complaint to be heard by only... Oh shit. Oh, fuck.
Crap.
We're back. My internet fucking died for some reason. Okay.
Wait, what if you gave Kraus a German accent?
I was literally just saying that it's funny I gave Kraus a regular, like, Aussie accent. I gave Natsuhi a French accent, and Jessica's a Valley girl. I also don't know how to do a German accent. Kraus.
Oh, we could get my brother in to do a German accent, but the only German accent he knows how to do is a gay German accent.
Klaus, I don't know. No, I just do not know. It just goes back to French.
He's Wait, no, I was about to try my brother's gay German accent, but I can't. She's planned for her complaint to be only heard by her cousins, and it didn't even reach Kraus's ears. Oh. That's basically what my brother's German accent sounds like.
Scolded Jessica, scowled, and turned away, sulking. If he's as cranky as they make him sound, he can't be that terribly sick, right? I mean, they're saying he's in a bad mood, not that he's got no energy, which at least proves that he's got his wits about him. It's because grandfather has especially strong willpower. However, doesn't necessarily mean his body will be able to keep up. Since last year, they kept saying that he has 3 months left. If the initial diagnosis was correct, grandfather has been prolonging his life by willpower alone. It's right for us to worry about him. Lunch started with the family's head seat still empty. The man who should be sitting there had already grown old, and the brilliant glory of which had rebuilt the Shiramiya family in the span of a single lifetime was being forgotten. Even though they were beginning the meal with that still empty seat, no one felt it was that odd anymore. Ah. Crack.
Umineko, no Nakukoni. It's gonna be 1:30.
Yeah, it's 1:30. Okay, I feel like I should save here as well. Okay, let me... No. System. Save. Okay. Exit. The Ushiramiya Family Conference was held once every year on the first weekend of October. If a normal family were to hold a so-called family conference, you'd expect it to be nothing more than a reunion of rarely seen relatives who greet each other around buckets of sushi or something. However, a part of the family's great fortune had been lent out to the grandfather's children. And no one in this family was considered an adult until they had met with a success in the business. So this meeting was literally a conference. How much of the fortune was invested? What sort of business was conducted? How much profit was earned? As a result, how much of the fortune borrowed from the main family could be repaid? Or possibly, how much more would be borrowed for future business ventures? What lessons had they learned, and what could they learn from their mistakes? It seems that topics like these were discussed very seriously in the past. My dad said it was like lying on a bed of nails. Apparently it used to be a very serious family meeting where people were bathed in scornful and angry voices, but some people even got slapped despite their age. However, that had become a thing of the past. Now, with everyone pursuing their own business ventures and achieving success, it was becoming more of a normal yearly get-together. Even so, telling grandfather about recent events was extremely stressful. So while it was nothing more than a simple get-together for us grandchildren, it was a real stomachache for our parents. The absence of the man who was the source of all this trouble, regardless of the reason, probably made today's lunch taste more delicious. The phrase, "while the demon is not around, everyone can relax," comes to mind. Anyway, let's introduce Jessica's father, whose face I hadn't seen for 6 years.
Let's see if he actually shows up on the board of characters now.
The man to my father's left is his older brother and Jessica's father, Uncle Kraus. His name sure is easy to read, Kraus. Now that we've gotten used to this string of weird names, our perspective is totally skewed. So Kraus doesn't actually seem that bad. It even starts to sound kind of cool. Just like Aunt Natsuhi, I didn't have many memories of speaking with Uncle Kraus. He had never been one to come chat to children, and I felt like he was always talking with the adults, just like Aunt Natsuhi. According to my father's gossip, he was a spiteful and violent man. If what he said was true, Uncle Kraus used to be very domineering from his position as the oldest sibling, and despised all the other siblings. Though, despite those siblings all seem to be chatting happily together. Oh well, even if their relationship was as bad as they were, sometimes when people grow up and live apart from each other, their relationship changes. That's probably what this was. After all, they all had children about the same age. By sharing the same family environment, they probably profited by exchanging opinions. Because of that, a short while ago, the circle of parents began to discuss the exams Jessica and I would be taking. Jessica, in order to escape questions about exams from my father on her left, purposely faced right while firing off a rapid series of comments, not giving him any chance to get a word in. Moving on, let's look at the end opposite from Kraus and the others. In the very last seat at the table, an old gentleman with a sturdy physique sat facing Kiri-san. This was my first time meeting him. So, his grandfather's personal doctor, a man called Nanjo. He used to own a huge clinic to the nearby island of Nijima, but turned it over to his son and began living a life of leisure at his old age. He had known grandfather since the very beginning when the mansion was first constructed on this island, and had built up a relationship over several decades. I thought at first the two of them might have gotten to know each other through grandfather's suspicious hobbies, but it seemed that he was actually grandfather's chess partner. I see. That kind of hobby seems very like our grandfather, what with his love of all things Western. Oh no shit, Sherlock. Nanjo's probably the only person to have entered the Rokkenjima who could enter Rokkenjima despite being neither a family member or a servant. He looked like a calm old gentleman as he listened to the discussion between Kiri and the other woman who sat near him. Considering how long he'd stayed by the side of our short-tempered grandfather, his generous heart was probably nothing to laugh at. Still, even if he was a family doctor, having anyone outside the Shiramiya family attend the family conference was a little odd. It made me think that grandfather's condition might have worsened so much that it'd be a major topic of discussion at today's conference. After all, George said something like that just a second ago. Something about how we've been getting continuous reports since around last year that grandfather didn't have long to live. It's nasty to think about it, but considering how rich grandfather is, at the time of his death, his wealth will be suddenly released, probably along with a fair share of our parents' stomach acid, and it will lead to ulcers for everyone. After all, this sort of thing just gets messier when there's more wealth to be divided. There's a good chance they'll be talking about stuff like that at the family conference. Still, it's not like it's got anything to do with us kids. Finally, even though he hasn't shown up, let me introduce our grandfather. The person who should be sitting at the insipid's chair, Urashiramiya Kinzo. It really sucks. Everyone else in the family has these weird names, but he got a perfectly normal one himself. If only his name was written Kinzo, but he let us call him Goldsmith or something. I'd totally freak out. As you can probably guess by now, he's a frightening person with an extremely short temper. I'm one of his grandchildren, not a son, and I haven't seen him since elementary school. Thanks to that, I have no memory of being beaten myself, but our parents were apparently raised with an iron fist. That earlier conversation between my dad and Uncle Kraus about who should go convince grandfather to calm down seems pretty darn funny once you know their background. You can't really tell grandfather's story without covering that pivotal event back before the Showa era. Until the Meiji and the Taisho eras, the Shiramiya family was great and prosperous. They owned several spinning mills, making them rich enough just to double over laughing every day as money kept rolling in. Incidentally, grandfather was a member of a branch of the family that had pretty much nothing to do with the main family. Not only was he way down the list of people who could inherit the headship, but he had hardly any contact with the glamorous main family. However, during the Great Kanto earthquake in the year Taisho 12, 1923, the mansion owned by the Ushiramiya family in Odawara was flattened. The spinning mills in Tokyo were all burned down in a huge fire, and the Ushiramiya family lost most of its wealth and its family members in an instant. So, once they started trying to figure out who the successor to the Ushiramiya family should be, they apparently found no one remaining except Kinzo in his branch family. In Kinzo's later reminiscences, he refers to this as a good fortune so great that it overturned fate. With that, grandfather's boring life did a 180. He was entrusted with reviving the dying Ushiramiya family, which had lost nearly all of its wealth. However, just because he had been entrusted with this task doesn't mean he could accomplish it. Apparently, those around him weren't really expecting much. However, this is when grandfather began displaying his extraordinary talent and good luck. Grandfather used all of his family's remaining wealth, as well as anything from the hair on his head to his toenails, as collateral in order to borrow massive amounts of money. Once he'd built up a gigantic war chest, he immediately invested in businesses. It was like someone tumbling down a hill on a bike without any brakes, and then jumping onto a neighboring bike and then another one, just like some crazy street performer. I'll bet everyone thought grandfather had no business ability whatsoever. However, after several miracles and turns of good luck, with coincidences piling up at every chance taken advantage of, he was suddenly in control of powerful connections with occupying forces. At that time, MacArthur and GHQ were the ultimate authority in Japan, and grandfather, in a twinkle of an eye, began succeeding in business under the protection of the occupying forces, quickly becoming very rich. By this point, it's probably safe to say that information, not luck, saved the day. I'm going to get water and have a sip, because this is a lot of text.
No, I just want to cut in really quickly. I didn't even notice this, but in my Artfight bookmarks, I saved someone's Animal Crossing OC, and then I checked their account to see if there were any other Animal Crossing OCs that they had, and then I found that it's the creator of this fanime that I loved when I was, in high school.
Nice.
And, oh my, now I want to draw the magical girls in the fanime that was made by this person. Oh my goodness. This is so... I love that.
Full
I might
circle
attack
moment.
them twice.
By this point, it's probably safe to say that information, not luck, saved the day. He must have made some seriously deep connections with the occupying forces. Grandfather knew beforehand about the emergency demands that would be made for the Korean War. No, it was more than that. He must have predicted those emergency demands from the very beginning when he started investing his money. The history books made it sound like all of Japan had made a large profit off of the emergency demands during the Korean War, but that actually isn't true. Only a very limited number of super rich played the money game and made an easy profit. Most of the citizens remained poor. In other words, grandfather was a member of this extremely lucky group of winners. I'm pretty sure this all happened during the year Showa 25, 1950 or so. The Great Kanto earthquake happened in Taisho 13, 1924, so that means grandfather was able to revive the near-dead Ushiramiya family in only about 20 years to a level even higher than it had been before. With that, you'd think he'd revive the main family in Odawara, but for some reason, he went and did something crazy as buying an entire small island in the Izu archipelago. Buying an entire island is not something that you can ordinarily do today. However, grandfather was clever. He contracted the GHQ and applied for the establishment of a marine resource base. He acquired this island as a business property, then tossed that project aside and claimed it as his own plot of land. After the war, there were prevention measures against food shortages, and having the sponsorship of the GHQ meant that nobody could oppose him. From that, I've heard the Tokyo metropolis of that day offered him this land to him practically for free. After that, later, Tokyo made difficulties by telling Kinzo to return the land, but the pushy GHQ intervened. Anyway, it seems under-the-table bribes did their work well. In the end, the city gave up in frustration. Grandfather, with considerable skill and good luck, managed to weather the stormy seas of that period, obtaining a vast fortune and his own island. Of course, it probably wasn't all luck. He was obsessed with all things Western, which helped him cultivate his English skills. He was able to use this to his advantage and sink his teeth into the GHQ. A mansion was built on this island soon after. This mansion, in fact, grandfather, with his love of the Western style, made this once uninhabited island a canvas upon which he could realize his dreams to his heart's content. He now had the Western mansion of his dreams, overflowing with emotion and atmosphere, and the beautiful garden featuring all sorts of roses. And he had a private beach where nobody other than himself would ever be permitted to leave a footprint. This would be a dream come true for any boy. After that, he made good use of his huge fortune, becoming a large stockholder in the extremely stable iron and steel industry, and was able to live an easy and comfortable life just using the dividends. Well, he's just that incredible. This kind of person usually has the ability to foresee and predict the future, or at least that is how they're portrayed after the fact. But grandfather denies all that, repeatedly saying that he was simply blessed with extraordinary luck. Anyway, even a lord like that can't help but grow up increasingly eccentric. When locked up alone on the island where all his dreams are made real, everyone knows that he's had an Western obsession from the start. But none of our parents really know when his bizarre black magic hobby began. Did his love of black magic begin all the way back when he became fascinated with everything Western? Or did his miraculous stretch of good luck while reviving his family cause him to feel a mysterious power in himself? At some point, grandfather began to make the research of black magic his life's work. He filled his study up with suspicious books, chemicals, and magical items as he became increasingly bizarre. From what I've heard, those around him warmly watched over him, figuring that someone who had achieved success in life had the right to do as he pleased, but there's no way that's true. They were probably just creeped out, thinking, that's disgusting, I don't want to get involved. Anyway, that agitated period was an age of big gambles and with both opportunities and risks. Let's say grandfather was born in this time period. He would have had no opportunities and would probably have had advanced like a chess piece from mandatory education to college to at a leisurely pace, never becoming more than an average salaryman. If that happened, he'd probably have sat somewhere happily talking behind his boss's back. No, not in a fancy dining hall like this, more like at a table in some bar. Then again, I'll bet this family conference would be a whole lot more relaxing if that were the case. I thought I just heard something crack. Okay.
Oh,
that's
is that your skull?
I don't think so.
Is your brain's hurting?
No, I swear to God I heard something fall and crack, but I guess what's it called? I guess I'm going crazy.
She going crazy?
Okay, that's enough about the old geezer. More importantly, let's talk about this incredible lunch.
Yay!
I'm already convinced that sashimi salad appetizer. Goda-san's an excellent chef. Plus, these fish were caught in the adjacent seas, weren't they? They're totally different from the sashimi you'd get at the supermarket. Oh, fuck me, man. Oi! Quit it, Battler! Your upbringing will be exposed. Everyone let out a big laugh. Damn it, you say that even though you love those cheap pubs. Ha ha ha. I've eaten at many unusual places because of work, but this stands right up there with the best of them. I'd be willing to bet Goda-san used to be pretty well known in those circles. Well, I don't know the details, but the stuff got complicated at the long-standing hotel he used to work at, what with them opening up a new establishment with the same name and breaking into factions or whatever it is. In the middle of all that, he was apparently forced to retire. At that time, Mom just so happened to be sending out job offers for a servant. As Goda removed the empty plates, he began to recount his own bumpy past without losing his smile. The world is a difficult place. Fuck! I skipped it! Well, we don't get to listen to Natsuhi.
We don't get to listen to a French woman, but maybe I'll get to talk?
Maybe. Shannon-chan and Kumasawa-san entered from the hallway with a serving cart. Please excuse us. Now...
I'm taken off the screen.
Yep. Now Kumasawa-san is gone. Now then, let us move. We have to, at some point, cosplay you as Kumasawa-san and then me as, I don't know, Shannon or Kanon or something. Now then, let us move on to...
That's an insane duo.
The sane duo.
Insane.
Yeah. Well, it's Shannon or Kanon as servants. The servants.
The servants.
Yes. Now then, let us move on to today's desserts. Goda-san and the others laid beautifully adorned dessert out in front of us all. I guess that's true when they say you have another stomach for dessert. I thought I'd already filled up on delicious food, but as soon as I laid my eye on that dessert, my stomach started yelling more. I don't know how much about desserts, but this low-key looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce, and elegant rose petals adorned the dish. Normally, during high-class meals like this, you're supposed to wait for the chef to extol the virtues of this particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to strict rules like that, so she got excited by this beautifully delicious-looking dessert, jumping into the fray as soon as it was placed before her. Aunt Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded saying, Now, it's okay. Emma, this part's sour. Why is she American? This part's sour. Bad lad, this one's no good. Uwe? Maria exclaimed as she sampled the 2 colored sauces. What? Some are good and some bad? Okay, I'll give it a go. Apparently one sauce was sweet and the other sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck my little finger in and licked it. Whoa, one of the sauces was sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who'd been putting away the serving cart behind us. Shannon,
Blood.
It's probably raspberry. What kind of sauce is this sour stuff? Shannon-chan hesitated. Her job was just to set the table, so she doesn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seems pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. Or did they use some sort of ingredient we're better off not knowing about? While Aunt Natsuhi made a gesture that seemed to indicate an oncoming headache, Kumasawa-san was setting the table on the opposite seat and began to chuckle.
Hoo hoo hoo! What do you think we made it out of? Hoo hoo hoo! It'll shock you!
Onion. Huh? I don't have a clue. Wait a sec, Kumasawa-san, that laugh's pretty creepy. So, what is it?
Don't tell anyone, okay? Listen very carefully.
Kumasawa-san leaned across from the other side of the table. I leaned forward myself when she asked. Their interest caught Jessica, Georgianiki, and of course Maria also put their ears closer. What? What? Quickly! Quickly!
You see, the sour part is made from juice squeezed from a mackerel. Hoo 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 hoo!
What? Mackerel? That's crazy, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding sagely. Ew, mackerels are sour. This is what comes out when you squeeze them. Then Maria started clamoring that mackerel were sour. The adults were unable to contain their laughter. Only Aunt Rosa, her face red, whispered to Maria that mackerel is sour only once prepared as shimasaba. Now I totally remember. Kumasawa-san was always like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me too in all sorts of ways when I was young. The most lethal has got to be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They're kikurage mushrooms. She told me they were penguin meats, and I went around school like a smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Kumasawa-san, you sure haven't changed. You know Maria's gonna believe it now, right?
Hoo hoo hoo! It's just a joke! Now Gurda-san's going to tell us what the sauce really is working!
Goda looked a little put off about his masterpiece being laughed at for such a bizarre reason, but after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. Well then, allow me to introduce the dessert. After seeing how much you enjoyed the rose garden today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected just now from that very rose garden. The sauce is a combination of two reds, strawberry and rose hips. Please enjoy this mixture of strawberry sweetness and rose hips sourness. What the fuck is rose hips?
I think it's also used in perfumes.
Furthermore, the rose petals are merely decorative, so please avoid them while you eat. With that said, please enjoy. Whoa, man, I almost want to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed description first seems to make it work a whole lot better. As Goda-san elaborated on the details of this dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, you should call him subtle or just talented. The dessert was probably planned from the beginning, but taking the hint when we all stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today, he displayed an incredible and timely awareness just by adding a few rose petals from that garden. This combination of sweet and sour was also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd get used to it and get bored halfway through. But if you reached the sour sauce at that point, you'd get a really vivid taste. Then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all of the sourness in your mouth would be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda-san passed one of our seats, someone praised the taste and his presentation. How is it, madam? Splendid as always. It is worthy of entertaining our guests. I am most grateful for your words. Madam, did you know? I have heard that rosehip has the ability to cure headaches. I thought that you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it specially prepared. Is that so? Thank you. See, didn't I tell you, Natsuhi-san? Rosehip is great for headaches. So it seems. I do hope it actually helps.
The three quietest characters before this guy.
Ha! Goda-san, I love ya. Fuck me, I've actually given him an Aussie accent. I was supposed to give him a British one. Hey, later on, you tell me how they're treating ya. Or, if you can't, just let me know what sort of salary you like. Having your talent confined to this small island is sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. What do you say about working your crafts for my company and delighting all our customers? Ha! Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to steal away Algoda? Now, that won't do at all. I'm gonna talk like a TV presenter for this guy. We'd better start treating Goda better, or he'll get snatched up. Really, you should. If you don't, someone's gonna grab him and you'll be stuck with the meals of a Kumasama-style mackerel cooking a day, won't you?
Hoo, that's harsh!
The way you said that was as if she's like really fucking irritated.
Seems everyone's holding a grudge against me!
Ah! Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kumasawa's mackerel jokes were a running gag that our parents had long since gotten used to. Kumasawa often claimed that mackerels had precious nutritional value, which would slow aging, make people smarter, and more. Supposedly, while it couldn't stop the outward signs of aging, it helped prevent it on the inside. Since she was still spirited enough to tell these kinds of jokes at her age, there must be something to that theory.
Hoo. In that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner! I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you all, so you'd better look forward to it!
Aha! We sure will! Can't wait to get all fucking up from tonight's Shime-sama! That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake.
Oh, we certainly will! Haven't you heard of Rokajima's famous mackerel stew?
Ha 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 ha! Kumasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and served the pushing cart away. It was pretty funny to watch Goda-san, who looked like his show had totally been stolen, explain in a serious voice that we'll be having calf steak for dinner. How did I do a voice before? Kumasawa-san?
What?
Thank you.
Adelaide?
Thank you for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply.
Hoo! I haven't done anything that requires thanks.
Kumasawa may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood understood it and saved Shannon in the nick of time. Back when Battler had asked about the dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may have been several ways to dodge the question, but all of them would have required some quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard-pressed for a response, always suffering because of the small weakness. If only Shannon had a little of the craftiness needed to cleverly snake off a mistake like Goda, her life would be been a bit easier. The fact that she could perform other tasks flawlessly made this weakness even more unfortunate. However, there are some who understood Shannon's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and draw attention away from it. That was why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue.
I just heard from Genji-san that there will be a change in the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. I finished talking that sentence.
Sorry, Leisha just reacted to the picture of of sexual harassment. And Lee's just said, "Who is this fine shit?" Battler.
I love how the gingers are responding to another ginger.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Oh yeah, guys, in case you didn't know, Leah in real life is actually part ginger.
Huh?
Yeah, her hair is partially orange.
Oh, okay, you cut off a little bit there, that's what I was asking.
Oh yeah, no, because she's part ginger.
Mm.
But not full ginger like Leisha.
Mm. Okay, oh, you still got lines.
You said, after Leah said, "Who is this? This is fine shit," and then you're like, "Battler."
This is Umineko.
He is Umineko.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Oh, I believe. Oh, I already said that. Sorry.
Oh, ho,
Woo,
ho.
woo, woo, I'm jealous.
Huh? Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet.
Oh yes. I was thinking I might start putting some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you would help out a bit before your break.
Sorry, I'm just texting something.
Yes. I would be delighted to help.
Shoshana Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. Hold on.
Mum.
The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were, so we were chased out. The dining hall, now that we're back to our regularly scheduled Umineko, the dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they'd prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had bought for Aunt Natsuhi. Maria said that she'd also wanted to have some black tea, but my old bastard said she couldn't and told us, "Children, go play outside." Battler-kun, why don't we all go for a walk outside? Why am I robotic? Go ahead and take a look with the roses or something. But keep a close eye on the weather. The sky's still clear, but the weather reports keep talking about rain. I do a much better accent for Hideyoshi than I do for Rudolph, even though I basically attempt the same accent.
I want to go to the beach. Let's go get away. They say what they're going to take our drink. Clicking.
Oh, that sounded wonderful. Let's go play on the sandy beach or something. Isn't something you get to do often, isn't it?
Ah, good point. Okay, let's all go to the beach then. Let's go.
Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Or your shoes. Or your hair. Or your bag.
Won't get wet.
That obedience is so cute. Battler-kun, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay? Sure, leave it to me. Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself listening to Kiri like that. Why don't you also listen to me obediently for a change? Ha! Hell no! Let's go, everyone! Come on! The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who pushed a serving cart in and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled in with a sublime aroma which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their first. Ha ha, Rudolph's family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing. Quit. We're not a match for your family, Anakin. That's true. You've raised Jessica-chan to be so adorable. I imagine that's yet another fruit of your talents at educating and training Natsuhi-san. Thank you. Natsuhi answered coldly. The conversation broke off then, and the parlor fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture. Still, they sure do grow fast. I thought they'd be kids forever, but they start getting huge all of a sudden, and then they're adults like us. Battler-kun looks like a completely different person now. His body has grown so much, and he's still just a kid. Though, you could say the same about my husband. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. I still don't feel as if I've grown up. Isn't that pitiful? That's not something a mother of a child should say. That's right. We're not children anymore. We're all adults now. So I wish I could talk together on an intellectual level rather than an emotional one. When Ava smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though that pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out of the window. Since long ago, we've always endeavoured to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark. It's just as it always has. Oh? What is it you've always endeavoured to do? My. I wish I could wrap those words up and send them to this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa? Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earned the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as the younger sibling. Quit, Anarchy. We better get started on our main topic while brats aren't around. I wanted this man to be a bogan.
He's not a bogan, Brooklyn.
No, he's not.
Well, he wasn't.
Let us make our intellectual discussion. As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh, and some let out a small look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their unavoidable true agenda. Last year, his life expectancy was estimated about 3 months, which I guess means he's got a negative 9 months to live now. Should we take that to mean it might suddenly happen at any time? The family head is still alive and well. The fact you bring up such an inappropriate topic under the light of day makes me doubt your sanity, Rudolph-san. Still Natsuhi-san. This is the sort of thing you can't put off after something's happened. He's still healthy now, but which makes this the perfect time to talk about it while we've still got time to plan. It's just a bit of financial etiquette, you might say. Fucking hell, etiquette. It seems father is the focus of everyone's concern. Dr. Nanjo, could we hear the details from you? Perhaps to be what everyone else is waiting up for after all. Dr. Nanjo, who had been standing by the window and staring out at the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized that he was being called. Dr. Nanjo, how is father's condition? Well, to begin, allow me to start with a revision, since my estimate last year that he had only 3 months left was not borne out. No need to explain. You're saying that measuring the remaining life is only prediction, not a promise, right? That is correct. Because of that, while I accept everyone's repeated questions, I can by no means confirm when he will pass away. A human life is supported by their body and their mind. If the blood is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous. But if the mind is strong enough to compensate for that weakness, the effects of one's condition sometimes remain in a subdued state. So saying that even if his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited. Kiri, sorry, but can you fucking stay out of this for a fucking minute? Sorry, I had to give him an outburst. I know it's supposed to be like a, can you stay out of this for a fucking minute? Not a,
That's
can you...
just how he sounds.
That's just how Rudolph sounds.
Yeah.
What? Have I... Jesus. I'm sorry. That is correct. Kinzo-san's body is being overwhelmed by the demon of ill health. But this holds especially true as long as he continues to partake in such strong alcohol. So, he's in a crisis now because he drinks. And maybe he's lived so long because he drinks. There's Dad for you, the heavy drinker. Well, I think that's how I have to do it if I want to give him a Bogan accent. Well then, Doctor. I know you can't give it anything more than a prediction. But what do you think about Father's chances of living until this day next year? That is quite a rude question to ask about the family head. Natsuhi jumped on Eva, but didn't even bother trying to hide her astonished expression. Eva stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile. Ah, Natsuhi-san, forgive her. Eva, choose your words a bit more carefully, okay? I'm sorry. I was just so concerned about Father's condition. Is that so? I hadn't realized. Dr. Nanjo, please tell us. For the sake of the beautiful love of a daughter worried about her father's lifespan. Kraus laughed sarcastically, and Eva smiled sweetly. Returned it an identical chuckle. You ask whether he'll still be healthy next year. But as a doctor, it's very hard to say. Because while I do think his lull in his condition will continue for a while, if he suffers some kind of fit, there may be nothing we can do. After all, Rokkenjima is a solitary island. It is not as if an ambulance could quickly jump in to save him. Normally, I would want to have him placed in a large hospital on the mainland, but Father stated that he does not want his noble research interrupted. It seems he holds a grudge over the way we tried to force him out last year. Apparently, he strongly suspects that he'll be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside. And that's how things are now. Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him? Father trusts Dr. Nanjo. It seems he can be examined when in one of his better moods. I can examine his condition, but if I try and recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen. I've really only been able to look. It's true some people hate doctors. Still, what's the hassle? Or what a hassle? Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine what medical treatment would be appropriate. Receiving an examination and then not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless. So, to sum it up, he's still expected to live 3 months. There's no way to guess how long he'll continue to live while still on the verge of death. Rudolph-san, could you please be a little more discreet with your words? Sorry. I've always talked this way. No, the fuck you haven't. Not the way I've been talking as you. No, the fuck you have not. Give me a break. I understand how Dr. Nanjo sees it. What about you, Kraus-san? To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr. Nanjo. I find it truly difficult to think of Father as a person so sick that he only has 3 months left to live. His yell is as healthy as ever, and I get chills at the thought of his fist raining down on me. Pushing the care of your father on solely the shoulders of the eldest sibling is far from fair. Ha! In the next world, get born after me. Okay, let's get back on track. So, he's still fucking talking. So, in the opinion of our impartial neutral doctor, it wouldn't be odd for him to go at any time. No offense to Yanaki, Anakai, and Nikki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of the expert in this field, which means not too early to start talking about Dad's assets. Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion yen, right? But it's not as though he's all neatly gathered as ready cash. It's not as simple as simply cutting a birthday cake with a knife. That's an interesting way to put it. That's right. You seem to get strawberries or chocolate on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly cut into equal parts. Given that, don't when you think it's important to discuss beforehand how best to stick the knife in? I cannot understand how you always openly discuss this as though the family's head is dead, even though he is still alive. Oh, come on now. Don't you see how important it is? After all, when time comes, the inheritance of his fortune must be carried out immediately, right? Moreover, the glorious Ushiramiya house's wealth is vast. Don't you understand that careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There's a huge difference between this family's resources and your family's wealth. How rude. My birth family has nothing to do with this. I'm actually very curious. I just noticed. Okay, I was looking at Natsuhi. I completely didn't realize what's her fucking name again? Pardon?
Eva.
Yeah. I didn't even notice what Eva looks like, and I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Natsuhi responded indignantly, though in a low voice, and the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile. Give her a rest, Eva. Natsuhi-san, forgive us. Pardon her rudeness. Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glancing at both with a forced smile, but it only resulted in making the hostility between Eva and Natsuhi even more intense. It seems I just get in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me. Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. Oh, whoops. To an outsider, it may have seemed like a normal act of courtesy, but his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Klaus recrossed his legs. In other words, this is what you all would like to say. Father's remaining life is short. You want to quickly enter into a practical conference concerning the distribution of the inheritance. Why are you so eager, I wonder? Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Shiramiya's family's wealth is no simple task. In that case, shouldn't we make careful and deliberate calculations? It seems to me that you are all impatient to split up the cake tonight. Isn't that true, Rosa? What reason is there to be hasty? We aren't being hasty. However, we need to have an agreement between the siblings. It doesn't matter when we do that, but if the day Father's condition worsens is approaching, the condition discussing the matter beforehand hardly seems hasty to me. Rosa shot a glance at Eva and Rudolph. As the younger sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest. Oh, is that your true opinion? I didn't expect that the most honest and pure-hearted of the siblings would say something like that. I wonder if those two told you to say it. Quit, Anarchy. Rose is one of Dad's kids too. She's got as much right to his inheritance as the rest of us. It's only natural that she'd be interested. After all, Dad will definitely die, and that's not something that'll happen in the distant future. On the contrary, Anarchy, you're way too relaxed. It almost seems like you've got nothing better to do than turn the discussion away from the inheritance issue. What do you mean, like, where is my water? Where is my water? Water. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to accuse my husband of something?
calm down, Natsuhi-san. Listen to what we have to say. Nissan, I hear the times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom, and the yen keeps on rising. It seems that it's no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen. Also, the ruling party says that it will be establish health resort maintenance law. It will establish health resort maintenance law by next year. At this moment, resort development companies across Japan are running about trying to gather as much funding as they can. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It'll be a repeat of the Korean War demands, the time during which father revived the Ishirimiya family. The people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving a vast economic growth and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity. We've reached an era where private spending is vast, which means easy money for institutions that can capitalize on that fact. The three kinds of electrical appliances are no longer represent the people's needs. The people need ski resorts, golf courses, public pools, resort hotels, and theme parks. Have you gone to Disneyland? Have you gone to Disneyland, which opened just a few years ago? Ah, yes, I love Disney. You know, the rat Disney? What an excellent theme park. It's a place where even adults can be a kid and have fun with his family. No longer do we count our sole virtue to be selfless devotion while failing to care for our families. We have become the most prosperous people in the world, and now we can finally enjoy the benefits. Kraus-san, your foresight's nothing to sneeze at. When I heard that sort of thing several years ago, I thought it was crazy. But when I heard about the G5 nations Plaza Accord, that all changed. The yen shot up, and I'll bet the price of land skyrockets soon, too. It won't be long before Japan becomes the economic center of the world. You got a great sense of direction on the world's movement, where the world... Fuck me. Great sense of the direction the world's moving, Kraus-san. At least there'll be no debate about that. I feel the same, Hideyoshi-san. Anarchy. You can read into the next decade of history. But you got that keen sense from Dad, and it's incredible. However, unlike Dad, the timing of your predictions has been a bit off sometimes. Right? Nissan, you've been starting resort projects everywhere, convinced that Japan will soon see a boom, but almost all of them continue to fail. While I'm sure the era you predicted will soon arrive, it seems you misread the timing of that boom. You were too early. Then panicked and tried to sell everything off, which only opened the boom even further. If your nose was really reliable, then there should have been no reason to sell off your property. Is this the proof that you mistrust your own ability? How rude. Are you trying to insult my husband? Natsuhi's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Ava, paying this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsuhi to sit down. Please stop, Natsuhi. Ava's always been incapable of talking any other way. Calm down a little or your headaches will get worse. I'm starting to get a fucking headache. The proofs of your lack of talent right next to us. After all, Nissan, you weren't all excited about turning this island into a resort? So you built a wonderful resort hotel and beautifully maintained the garden. I'm just an amateur and don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money for that, right? And what is that to you? My husband's business is none of yours. Actually, that's not true, Natsuhi-san. Rockenjima doesn't belong to Anarchy. It belongs to Dad. Of course, the hotel doesn't belong to Anarchy, right? In fact, we'd be more willing to pay lodging fees for tonight. What do you think, Rosa? Well,
what if I have on hand? If what I have on hand will suffice, if I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. It is true expenses have piled up, but we can expect a large harvest in the future. When that happens, all of you stand to profit as well, do you not? I understand that. If the value of this island rises, that will increase our portions when we distribute the inheritance. Of course, I won't ask you to divide the island and mansion into 4 equal parts. We can just resolve the matter with money equal to the value of the property. If you understand that much, what about my business makes you dissatisfied? We aren't dissatisfied. We're just uneasy. In the first place, Anarchy. When do you plan to open that hotel? Left this way, you won't get anything out of accepting our grubby handprints, right? That's right. It's an important tool for your business, isn't it? Surely you can't keep locked up until that moment you open it. Buildings go bad if you don't use them and air them out every once in a while. Even so, it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year. Right, Rosie? That's right. Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it will become quite popular once you open it. Oh? So the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house. It's splendid, just as Rosa said. If you were to open it, I'm sure it'll become popular. The lodging they had been guided wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It was originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it was built 2 years previously, there was still absolutely no prospect of it opening. Nissan, it's just like all of your enterprises. Your attention and planning are both fabulous, but then it always becomes unmaintainable partway through and ends before you have a chance to earn any profit. You were brilliant when you saw that using this island only as a place to live was a waste. I think that's a pretty good plan to turn into a resort that could use the prospect of marine sport, fishing, honeymoons, and the like to attract customers. But if I were the oldest son, I'm sure I'd strain my brain looking for a way to make a profit off this island. But 2 full years have passed since you finished building, right? After 2 years, you still haven't had the opportunity to open it. Where's the managing company you entrusted it to? Impertinence! That's not my husband's fault. There's just been some trouble with the company that my husband contacted with. No matter how you look at it, we are the victims here. And yeah, the rumors we've heard about this company you hired haven't been good at all. Let's be clear about this, dear. Did you really think we wouldn't hear about how lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led to the project disintegrating mid-flight? We even have the evidence. Oh, fuck. Headphones.
Heads up, I'm also cooking dumplings for myself right now.
Oh my gosh.
My mum's also here.
Slay.
Say hi, Mum. Hi, Mum. Said hi, Mum. Did you hear that?
Yes. I don't know what kind of evidence you think you found, but it's all baseless. As new members in the tourism industry, it is necessary for us to lay the groundwork with various people. It is also important to investigate the trustworthiness of our partners. Oh my god. It's merely taken us some time to meet that goal. I'll admit the hotel was completed too early. However, it's not as though we're paying maintenance costs. It's a foundation that will eventually become immensely significant. Liar. I bet you want to liquidate it, but can't. After all, there's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated, empty island without any established sightseeing routes. And anyway, what about... Mia, can you mute, please?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. And anyway, what about all the loans you made for this project? Even if you're incurring maintenance costs, the borrowed money that you can't return just keeps growing. Sorry, Kraus Nissan, but I've investigated the development plans for this island a bit. To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either. Hideyoshi-san, I can't see how you might be left with that impression by looking at only the current financial situation. However, this is a forward-looking investment. I have no choice but to admit that my prediction was mistaken and that up until now several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain everything that I have lost up to this point. No, actually, all the investments I have made up until now will finally return to my possession. That's right, just like throwing away a small fry to catch a salmon, they will come back even bigger and better than before. I'll accept that. The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before long. Though, I don't know if it'll be enough to ever cover all your debt. However, Kraus-Nissan, after all your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide you with funding? And isn't it some small amount we're talking about? You need enough funding to be able to fill the massive hole you've dug. What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san? Natsuhi-san, please don't get angry. We looked into this too. We checked to see who might have provided Kraus-Nissan with enough financing to support his recent large-scale projects, despite his string of failures. And we discovered that no such backer exists. The iron rule of money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Anarchy, you're a fairly well-known loser in this field. It's true that prosperous times are about to come, but when we looked for people who considered that enough to overlook your string of failures, and had also enough for the investment, we found no candidates. So, the big question for now is where you got that money from. Huh. Now, isn't this intriguing? And? Dear, how long do you plan to let these ridiculous remarks stand? Sit down, Natsuhi-san. Let's cut to the point. Anarchy, you've been diverting Dad's private funds for your own businesses. There's pretty much no room for doubt. You think we've made some kind of mistake? Please feel free to explain. Rudolph, don't call it diverting funds. This is embezzlement. Plain and simple. A huge crime that can be criminally prosecuted. This sort of rudeness cannot be tolerated. How can you face the successor to the Ushiramiya head family and level these absurd accusations? They aren't absurd. They're right on the mark. I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debt just keeps getting bigger. He's just trying to cover up the failures of one gamble by making an even bigger one. It's only natural that he'd try to grab any source of funding close at hand. Let me be frank, Nissan. What you're doing is embezzlement. You're betraying father. You know that we'll have the court settle this after it's all over, right? Do you think that kind of person has any right to call themselves the successor to the Ishiramiya head family? Of all the... is this... Of all the... You dare to claim that he has betrayed the family head? You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Ushiramiya family. Leave this place at once. Now! Get out! Natsuhi, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Eva in rage. She then pointed alternately at Eva and the hallway, demanding that she leave. Eva took out a folding fan and fanned it over herself, with glaring maliciously at Natsuhi, as though she's silently daring her to repeat what she said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In this unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped. Hey, Natsuhi-san? To whom do you think you are speaking in such a tone? I am speaking to the exceedingly rude sister of my husband. As the person in charge of the main family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this. In charge of the kitchen? Be silent, lowly maidservant. Ava folded the fan with a snap and rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she'd shown until seconds ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive. How foolish you stand now down before Ava of the Ushiramiya family. You tell me to stand down. Me, Ushiramiya Eva, the third ranked in the Ushiramiya family hierarchy and the one allowed to sit at the left shoulder of the head? Know your place. And then look at your shabby self in the mirror. Where is the symbol of the wings on your clothes? Where are you permitted to wear the one-winged eagle? Aren't you nothing more than a borrowed womb to the house of the next successor of the Ushiramiya family? Understand your place, you common housemaid. Eva's face twisted hideously as the words gouged into Natsuhi's heart, like talons wrenching it. Huh?
What's absolutely insane is that Eva's basically looks like she's got a tattoo of the winged eagle, so you know she takes it seriously.
There are 100 ways Natsuhi wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of those words managed to make it out of her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go, and became a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. What's wrong? If you have something to say, please do so. Come on. Eva faced her with a provocative gaze. However, Natsuhi could do nothing but tremble and clenched her fists, quivering. Kraus quietly broke the powder keg tension. What the fuck's a powder keg? Where's my phone? What's a powder keg? Powder keg. Oh, it's a barrel of gunpowder. Okay. Natsuhi, leave your seat. You should go cool your head. Natsuhi, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack. Don't you understand what they are saying about you? These people are basically calling you a traitor to father. They are making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Ushiramiya family, even though we are constantly expending every effort to earn the glory from father. They trample all over that underfoot with their hateful rambling. And you do not even try to fight back? Why? I'm only standing up for us because you want. But you've been putting the entire burden on me for some time now. And now you tell me to go cool my head? It's always me. Even though I've always considered this family affair so seriously, Natsuhi was already unable to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After all, that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sound of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Kraus shrugged his shoulders slightly. I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. Fuck you! No, fuck you. I do not like Kraus! Yes. It's even... But you sounded like Emma there for a second.
I have become Emma all of a sudden.
I have...
Also...
Yes.
No, I won't share that.
What?
Let's just say that I brought my iPad to the bathroom with me so I could listen while I needed to go to the toilet. And let's just say I'm lucky that I was on mute.
Yes. Okay. It's even been rough, for me. If that's what's been managing your household, you must suffer to no end, son. Madam!
Oh my goodness, I'm back! Madame!
It's nothing. Leave me be. Natsuhi flew into her room and threw herself onto her bed, lamenting. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. Poor Baba.
Wait, am I talking? Oh, who's saying that's not me?
I guess not, but I would assume it's from her perspective. Poor Madame
Poor
Natsuhi.
Madame Natsuhi. There's a deep enmity between her and Ava-sama. Explaining their relationship would be very tiring for me, trying for me as a woman. The Ushiramiya family holds blood in great regard, but if a woman marries and leaves the family, they're removed from the family register. Thus, in normal circumstances, Ava-sama should have been removed when she married Hiroshi-sama. However, there is no one deserving of blame in this matter. Madame certainly bears no guilt. There is nothing to call it other than a whim of good. Kraus-sama and Natsuhi-sama were not blessed with children for some time. After all, this is the male-dominant Ushiramiya family. A wife is merely a tool to create an heir. My dumplings, I think, are going to... if such a wife cannot fulfill her own duty, she will not even be treated as a human. It pains me to remember how the master tortured Madame during that time.
Back then,
you go ahead. I need to get my dumplings ready.
Yep. Back then, a wedding between Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama was being discussed. Eva-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madame's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favour of the master. She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor herself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Ushiramiya family register. There were vast differences in the Ushiramiya hierarchy between Madame, who married into the Ushiramiya family and was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to the family by blood and whose husband took on the Ushiramiya name. Furthermore, Eva actually gave birth first, and to a boy. As for how much weaker Madame's position was than Eva-sama's, well, I believe you could see for yourself. I'm sure Madame is tormented by the thought that if only she had gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Eva-sama's request to keep her last name after the marriage. And Eva-sama wouldn't have been permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today. However, that was not Madame's fault. All of the blame lies with God's whims and the stork that delivered Jessica late. Even so, Madame won't allow herself to see things this way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears as a woman at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. How sad. I can't do anything except watch over her from the shadows. Oh. Crack. I'm assuming this is now going to go to kids.
My dinner's ready!
Slay. I'm just going to save here. Oh! Look at that. Everyone's here.
Yay!
The gang's all here. Save.
Gang, 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 gang.
Gnarly. Okay. I've been recording for 2.5 hours. I will... Do I stop here is a question. Mia, should I stop here?
I don't know. It felt like we'd been recording for longer.
I might end this for today, just because I want to preserve my voice.
Yeah.
And I should probably do some packing. But I guess maybe we can record again on another time, because that is the end of today's video. Ha 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 ha. See you guys next week for the next Umineko Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed my fucking my constant fucking up of Rudolph's voice. And I will see you guys all next week. Bye.